About 2 weeks ago, I made a video about Beyond Sandbox, which I think covered my opinions pretty well, but since then, there have been some new developments, so I think it's time to follow up on that video and talk about Beyond Sandbox again. Plus, I would like to expand on some things I said in the last video to overall solidify my opinion because I believe it came off maybe a little too positive last time. Firstly, I want to give some general advice when it comes to buying games, which applies to Beyond Sandbox because it is a game, probably. I know it's fun to get into the whole hype cycle when something you care about is releasing, but I urge you to never buy a game based on a promise of what it will be. If Beyond Sandbox or really any other game launches in a bad state, then just wait for it to be updated and fixed before purchasing it. Or, if that never happens, which isn't uncommon, just be sad that it didn't meet your expectations and move on. Steam, Meta, and most other game marketplaces have pretty generous refund policies, so if you don't actually like a game, you're almost guaranteed a refund on Steam and Meta platforms if you submit it within 2 weeks of buying the game and you haven't played it for over 2 hours. I know that at least on Steam, it's very easy to get a refund. On Quest, it should be simple too. There are plenty of videos to show you how to do it if you've never done it before. With that out of the way, allow me to talk about my opinions on Beyond Sandbox completely transparently. As I said in my last video, I don't think Beyond Sandbox is a scam. There's many definitions of what a scam is, but if we follow this Cambridge Dictionary definition, which aligns with what I consider to be a scam, then I think you would have to stretch the meaning of the words to define Beyond Sandbox as one. The marketing has been misleading and a little dishonest in the past, but I haven't seen anything illegal. Of course, we don't know for sure because the game isn't out yet, but from the looks of it, Beyond Sandbox is an actual product that is being worked on by actual people, which is supposed to release on the 23rd of April this year. At the very least, it has modding capabilities and people are testing it, so there is something there. The way I think about it, it just doesn't make sense for it to be a scam. If it was trying to be one, then why hire more people? Why and how did you get a publisher? Why delay the game? What, did you want one more month of Patreon payments? $6,000 more dollars? You probably lost $6,000 in sales by delaying the game. Why form a community of modders and let them get hands-on with your game if you never even cared in the first place? It just doesn't add up to me. I don't think we're dealing with some expert group of super scammers who know every little way to trick their community into trusting them. If they were that smart, they wouldn't be making a VR game. You would make so much more money from scamming with a flat screen title. You hear that? That's me defending Beyond Sandbox, which I did a lot of in my first video, which is also why I think it came off as too positive. Just because I'm defending them doesn't mean I'm a fan. I'm not even really interested in playing the game. I don't want to play another VR sandbox. I have Bonelab, my friends have Bonelab, and I think Bonelab fits what we need. From everything I've seen, Beyond Sandbox isn't for me. The only reason I'd play it is if a couple years down the line, some big, game-sized mods come out and are really good. Or maybe for a video, but I mean, there's already going to be a million people reviewing it when it comes out, so what's the point? There'll probably be like 1,000 different people making videos saying the same things I would. My 2 cents wouldn't add anything. Anyway, I don't want to be the Beyond Sandbox guy, so this is probably going to be my final video on it. Let's get back on track. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The marketing of Beyond Sandbox is where the majority of warranted criticism of it comes from. I wouldn't really fault anyone for calling the game a scam, especially when there are so many definitions of scam, and the marketing was definitely at the very least misleading a while ago when the game really blew up. Although, I will commend Beyond Sandbox for listening to feedback because I went through all of their uploads again for this video, and I couldn't find anything in the past 9 months that compares to the buzzword spam I think of when talking about the marketing of Beyond. There were a few next gens thrown around, but overall a massive improvement. Another thing I want to touch on is the delays. Now, I'm a forgiving guy when it comes to this stuff, so in my first video, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, which I still believe is the right thing to do, but I can still give the benefit of the doubt while criticizing the delays. Delays usually end up being a good thing unless the game is in development hell, because in the end you get a better game that was worked on more. The thing about Beyond Sandbox's delays that annoys me is the fact that time has shown that at least the initial release windows were completely unrealistic. There's no way the game was ever launching in fall of 2025 with all the features they promised at the time. So why were they even giving release windows to begin with? Was the planning behind the scenes that messy? I honestly can't even begin to imagine what the thought process was. I have no evidence whatsoever, so whatever you do, don't take this as fact, but it kind of looks like they were just throwing out release windows to build hype without having a concrete plan to execute on them, which in the unlikely scenario that is true would be, in my opinion, kind of scummy. Beyond Sandbox will be releasing into early access, but if it's in a really bad state on launch, that shouldn't be an excuse. At the very least, the game should have all of the features they have shown us, as well as the majority of things they've promised, like the game modes for instance. And I expect all of that to run with at least a consistent 72 FPS on Quest, without mods or billion things spawned in. I think there are 3 things they need to get right on launch which will decide if Beyond Sandbox goes down in history as a success or a massive disappointment to the community: the performance, the price, and the modding tools. If even one of these is bad on launch, it will be a problem. If 2 are bad, the game will surely be a disappointment to a lot of people. And if all 3 aren't good, then the game might as well be a scam. Okay, that section was a little harsh, so before I get into the videos, I want to quickly say to the Beyond Sandbox community that I want your game to be good. It may not be the game for me, but I have no reason to hate on Beyond Sandbox. Everybody that I've talked to in the community has been kind and respectful, and I've legitimately had 0 bad experiences relating to Beyond Sandbox. I just want to discuss the game critically, not hatefully. I hope this video conveys that. For those who are outside of the know, Beyond Sandbox posted 2 long-form videos right after my last video about them because they hate me personally. One of those is about the gore systems they have made, and the other shows off the tutorial level. I'm going to talk about the one showing off the gore first because that's the big one. The gore in Beyond Sandbox looks pretty advanced, although I personally don't really care about gore in video games. I understand its purpose. It's another way for the game to give you feedback, to respond to your actions. Gabe Newell once said, "I don't like when my games are ignoring me, so I ignored my games." John Schuhart. Okay, here's his actual quote.
The point I would make is, if I go up to a wall and shoot it, to me it feels like the wall is ignoring me. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me. If you shoot at a wall, there have to be decals. If you kill a bunch of Marines, the Marines have to run away from you, right? You have to have this sense of the game acknowledging and responding to the choices and actions and progressions that you've made. Otherwise, it loses any sort of impact.
Great quote, right? Anyway, I think that helps illustrate what...
Like and subscribe.
I think that quote helps illustrate what I mean. Gore systems are a good way to make the game respond to what you do, but in my opinion, once you get past the stage of giving limbs, you hit diminishing returns really quickly. The difference between and is big, but the difference between punching someone and punching someone but they get a bruise is minuscule. It might be kind of interesting the first time around, but in the end, it doesn't really add to the gameplay all that much. The time spent working on that system could have been used to make the actual NPC AI work more interestingly. You can't cut the Combine in Half-Life Alyx or bruise the Mimics in Into the Radius 2, but they are still, in my opinion, the most enjoyable NPCs to fight in VR. Because they behave intelligently, they use cover, and they all have unique roles they serve in combat to make the games more fun and combat more dynamic. One thing both of these games have that Beyond Sandbox lacks is a cohesive, focused design. They know what the NPCs are going to be used for, so they are designed to fit into that. But in Beyond Sandbox, they want people to mod it, so the NPCs could literally be used for anything, so they have to be the most basic guy with gun NPCs ever. So, because of that, I assume they are probably going to be pretty boring to fight on their own. But I don't really know because we haven't seen much of them. So, moral of the story is that the gore system looks good for a gore system, but I don't think it'll add much to gameplay aside from the occasional limping NPC or something. I find it kind of strange that the gore is the most important thing they decided to show off in a long-form video. I think the modding tools would be a much more important thing to see for people interested in the game, but I guess mod tools are boring to show off, plus the gore has gotten the most attention in their short-form videos. One common misconception that I've seen is that this video is new/current. The video itself being released is new, but everything shown has been there for at least the past 10 months. Here's a clip from the video that was made into a YouTube short 10 months ago.
So you'll see now if I shoot him on the arm or anywhere in the body, he'll try and grab where he's been shot.
I think it's kind of weird how there are no melee weapons used in the gore demonstration video, but they clearly exist as they are shown in the tutorial walkthrough. My guess is that 10 months ago when they recorded the gore video, the melee stuff looked kind of bad, and when they recorded the tutorial video more recently, the weapons were in a good enough state to be shown off. One thing I will note before I get into the tutorial video is that your hands in Beyond Sandbox move a lot. Like, probably way too much. Actually, I don't know about you, but I can walk and keep my hands still at the same time. I will talk about this a little more later. The tutorial video doesn't have much of note. One thing I will bring up is that you may have noticed the AI generated images on the walls of the tutorial. The Beyond Sandbox modder Astronema, I think that's how it's pronounced, reached out to me after my last video letting me know that those AI generated images are just placeholders. She couldn't say more than that because she is under NDA, but she did share some pictures of work in progress maps for the Star Wars themed mod she's working on called Beyond the Rim. So if you like Star Wars and Beyond Sandbox, I guess you have something to look forward to. Alright, this part is completely filled with guessing. It was actually too much speculation to put in my first video, but since I want to get everything I think about Beyond Sandbox out there, I want to bring it up. Just be warned that I have no idea how this stuff actually works, and my words should not be taken as fact. What does physics-based actually mean? The answer is, there is no concrete definition of what it means that I can find, so it's become a buzzword. I tried to ask around to get the opinions of people who actually know about this stuff, but unfortunately you're just going to get my deranged ramblings on this topic. Beyond Sandbox has said that elements of the game are physics-based, and that it's the future of VR physics. I don't think this is the case. At least, it's not physics-based in the same way I think of physics-based. To me, that means something like Boneworks, Bonelab, or Project TX. But from what I've seen in their videos, Beyond Sandbox isn't like those games. It's kind of weird. Bonelab and Beyond Sandbox are the closest competitors and also completely different, by probably more than the average person realizes. They are basically incomparable. I'll explain why I think this in a second, but I think that Beyond Sandbox will play more like Contractors than Bonelab. I say this because if we look at everything I can find of the player rig and Beyond, it looks like your hands and maybe your head are physical, but they haven't shown any climbing or advanced interactions with the player rig that would suggest that it is actually quote-unquote physics-based. I don't think we've even seen jumping. In the video demonstrating the rig, there is this pill hitbox that changes with the height of the player. This might be the collision of the player, or it could just be a thing they were using to demonstrate the changes in height. I don't really know. The approach to physics with the player looks strange to me. They have little physical things, the fingers are pushing against stuff, and items look like they have simulated weight when you hold them. So there is something going on. I just don't think it's comparable to the Bone games or something in that vein. I also think the way your hands sway around might be a side effect of this approach. I don't really know. It looks so weird. There's no way they went out of their way to add that, right? Quick reminder that I am still just speculating. Many Minutemen would kill me for how many times I've used looks like as the only evidence. To me, the NPCs appear to also not be completely physics-based. They have more physics elements than the player rig, you can push their arms around and stuff, and they do fall over sometimes. In Bonelab, NPCs are all basically ragdolls. Just when they are alive, they can move. A benefit of this is that you can grab them, throw them, turn them upside down, always. A downside is that they are useless infants who are also dumb and can't go upstairs. It looks like in Beyond Sandbox, the NPCs are usually your standard video game NPCs, using animations to look like they are walking around and not actually physically walking. But when you hurt them or push them around enough, they get put in a ragdoll-like state where you can throw them around. I think that state is what they are showing in this video because I don't think the NPCs are always ragdolls like this. Perhaps this was the best solution, like the easiest middle ground between stupid Bonelab NPCs and smart but not physical NPCs. Alright, to wrap up this video, I'm going to respond to some comments I got on my last Beyond Sandbox video, as well as some from a community post I made. John Real 10 said, they probably started as a cheap asset flip scam, but weren't expecting the game to blow up in popularity, and now they're racing to make it an actual sandbox game. I doubt this is the case. Nate Jonah, co-founder of Atlas XR, the studio working on Beyond Sandbox, has been making VR games for years, like Atlas Endgames. My best guess is that they decided to show off a very early demo of Beyond Sandbox. It got a lot of traction, especially because of how much they were promising, and now they've had to scramble to meet expectations, resulting in delays. This next one is from Vladdy45. It's pretty long, so you can just pause to read it. I mostly agree with this comment. Beyond Sandbox looks to be a very sandbox, with barely anything to do without mods, which doesn't look fun to me. Gary's mod was made because people really liked Half-Life 2, and they wanted to play around with the source engine in a completely sandbox environment. Beyond Sandbox is trying to recreate what Gary's mod did, but they don't have something as important or influential as Half-Life 2 backing them up. The soul of Gary's mod isn't just the mods themselves, it's in the janky charm of the source engine and the beautiful art style of Half-Life 2. I think without that, the game would have never caught on enough to form such an amazing modding community which still thrives today. Plus, Gmod was a free Half-Life 2 mod for the first 2 years of its life, until it was put on Steam, so it already had an existing fanbase long before you had to pay for it. One of the developers behind Notia said, "It's easy to think that having a complex or highly realistic simulation will auto-magically result in interesting gameplay. Often, that is not the case." I think this applies to Beyond Sandbox. They can add all of the complex gore systems they want. With barely anything else to do other than goof around in Sandbox, the game is definitely going to be bland to play without a ton of mods. Which is why I think they really need to get the modding tools right. I saw a lot of comments about how I went into Gorilla Tag to ask people about the age demographics of VR, and yeah, I agree, going into Gorilla Tag of all places definitely resulted in some biased responses. I actually did go into other games to ask the same questions, but I couldn't find a way to fit that into the video in a way I liked. And I really didn't want to remove the interview with Dino Croc GT because contrary to what some people think, that was not scripted, that was not planned. I literally just joined the Gorilla Tag lobby and everything worked out. Because of that fact, that interview is so absurd and funny to me, I absolutely could not leave it out. Here's some footage of me talking about VR age demographics in Fusion that didn't fit in my original video.
In your experience while playing VR, would you say, well, like, how old would you say is the average VR player?
That's a fair point. I would say somewhere between 11 and 12 would be your normal VR player.
Somewhere between 11 and 12. Got it. Thank you. What's your opinion, Dark?
I mean, I think, what game are we talking about, like,
Uh,
average player base of...
if I were to say a specific game, probably something like Bonelab. Are you aware of Beyond Sandbox?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently working on a video about that, and I'm trying to get people's opinions on the game and if their marketing being aimed at children is a good or bad thing. I'd say that the fan base for Beyond Sandbox would probably be very similar to Bonelab or Bonelab Fusion. What would you say is like the average age of a Bonelab Fusion player?
I mean, I haven't seen anybody under, like, the age of 9. I think I've heard 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
12. Would probably
Yeah.
be the right.
11,
Think
12,
about
13.
Fusion.
Combine.
Think about Fusion.
What
You're
up,
not gonna
son?
find many young children because of how hard it is to set up. It's not like something they would be able to do.
Yeah, mate. I'm not bold. You're also bold. You're also bold.
Like, this guy sounds like he's 9. Not gonna lie.
Who, me?
Yes.
I am not 9.
Squeaky
I
clean.
know Mike's. Think about people. Mike's don't really do most people justice, so he's probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll discuss the age demographics of VR again in a future video. I think it would be interesting. Okay, and finally, let me respond to some comments on the posts I made asking about what people wanted me to talk about in this video. First, Narwhal12 said, "They're constant giveaways that require you to give them engagement. It's not the biggest deal, but they are doing them constantly. Someone mentioned that it could be for data harvesting, but I doubt it. Yeah, I don't think they're for data harvesting. Though the giveaways are kind of weird. I've never seen a game studio do giveaways like this before the game is even out. To me, it looks like they are just inflating their numbers a little bit by getting people to wishlist the game and follow them on places. But I find it kind of funny that each thing you do gives 100 entries. Before I realized that, I was flabbergasted by how many people were participating in this giveaway." I'm not going to try and pronounce that name. He said, "Let's talk about all the revolutionary stuff they brag about, like finger and jiggle physics, where you have easy tutorials on YouTube to do the same exact thing. Compared to the actual gameplay they never really show, only a glimpse of shooting stuff, which doesn't seem that fun. I haven't ever tried to add finger or jiggle physics to something I've done before, so I can't really gauge how hard it is to implement. The problem with the gameplay is that there really isn't any. I guess there is the zombies mode they have shown more of recently, but the tactical shooter mode is still yet to be seen, and with how they have never promised or talked about anything like this, I kind of doubt there will be the most basic of sandbox tools, like a physics gun or welder equivalent, which, if that is the case, the sandbox mode is going to be kind of really boring. Pixel 3D VR said all that. I'm not going to read through it out loud, you can read it on your own time. I don't really know anything about what they said here. I'll take a look into it because I think it might make an interesting video down the line. But I assure you, nobody's getting rich from making VR videos. And that's it. I want to thank everyone who has watched this far and everyone who has supported me. It is absurd to me how much this channel has grown in the past 3 weeks. I had 3 subscribers when my first Beyond Sandbox video came out, and now I'm able to monetize my videos. It's honestly a dream come true. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe because I have many more videos on the way, and they are probably going to be better every time I make them. Goodbye.